Hi, my name is Marnie DeLange. I'm a certified art therapist and clinical therapist with 17 years experience working with people dealing with addictions, mental health, and trauma. I'm going to be talking about the importance of creativity in recovery and giving some information on how addiction can stifle creativity, how we can heal through creativity, some ways we can get creative, and how art therapy can help in your recovery. I'm also going to give you an art therapy directive you can try and would love to see what you come up with in the comments. So how addiction stifles creativity, or the creativity myth. There is a belief held by some creatives that using substances enhances their creativity. Sure, mood-altering substances do alter the mind and influence perception, so it might seem that they are contributing to creative expression. However, this is an altered state and not a genuine and authentic expression. This myth is perpetuated in our culture and by media. We can all think of musicians, writers, and artists that share the experience of addiction, and we can look at their work as examples of creativity in the midst of addiction. But the reality is, their creative work happened despite their addiction, not because of it. Stephen King, who openly shares about his addiction and decades of recovery, discusses in his memoir On Writing the idea that creative endeavor and mind-altering substances are entwined is one of the great pop intellectual myths of our time. The truth is, substance use numbs everything, not just the difficult emotions like sadness, anger, and guilt that we might try to escape, but also fulfilling emotions like happiness, connection, and authenticity. Substance use numbs creativity in the same way. If our ability to connect with our feelings is blunted, then our expression of them and of our genuine selves is also blunted. It is not uncommon for people who experience addiction to also experience alexithymia. This term describes the disconnect from understanding and connecting with your own feelings, comprehending the feelings of others, or being able to describe feelings in words. Cultivating the ability for individuals to express feelings, difficult experience, thoughts, and memories without the limitation of words as the only means of expression is where creative approaches come in. What are your thoughts on the creativity myth with substance use? Section 2, how we can heal through creativity. Creative expression gives us something to do about what we are coping with. It can give us a way to say what we can't always find words for. Creativity can add to our recovery in several ways. Creative expression can provide a way to move through shame. In early recovery, shame can be a strong and difficult emotion to process and to put into words. But it is important that you find a way to process these difficult feelings to reduce the trigger they bring. Using imagery and symbolism can help you to express and show those feelings without the need for words. We can look at the image and see what that strong emotion is telling us. Shame tells us that when we are out of integrity, and having that awareness can help us to stay in line with our values. Regulating emotions happens through creative outlets in the same way. Finding nonverbal ways of expressing emotions lets us acknowledge and connect with how we are feeling. Listening to music can be a way we connect to our emotions when we hear our story in a song. We feel more connected to our feelings, and we feel less alone in what we are feeling. This can reduce stress and help us to heal when our feelings are validated, expressed, and understood. Music is something we can share with others to let them know how we feel, which also helps us feel seen and supported. Often, processing grief and trauma is part of what we need to do to recover from addiction. People may turn to substances to avoid the feelings associated with traumatic experiences and difficult losses. We can honor these feelings and acknowledge the experiences through creative expression. Instead of avoiding going there, we can work with what is coming up and find a place to contain it. Art, journaling, and writing can be a place we record our experiences and name the impact. In a creative group session, we may see our own pain in someone else's creative expression. This allows for vicarious healing when we can share and be supported in our pain. Having safer space to express this can lead us to be able to eventually talk about it rather than avoid difficult feelings and memories. Creativity can also let us cultivate and connect with joy and playfulness. As previously mentioned, using substances numbs feelings, even the good ones. It takes time to regain the ability to consistently experience feelings of joy and happiness. We can work on retraining ourselves to tap into these feelings by practicing using our creativity for the fun of it. When we take away the pressure we put on ourselves to make a masterpiece and create for the sake of creating, we reconnect with a part of ourselves that has been numbed in active addiction. Creativity promotes play, and with that, feelings of wonder, silliness, and a sense of freedom to explore and express. These are parts of ourselves that we are recovering. It is so important to remember that we are not just doing recovery, we are recovering something. Engaging in creativity provides healthy ways to lose yourself and engage in flow. Boredom and restlessness are common triggers in early recovery from addiction. Often, it can feel like there is time to fill in the absence of alcohol and drugs, and it can be difficult to find our way back to activities we enjoy when we have been disengaged in active addiction. Finding creative outlets can be a healthy distraction and can help us to engage in a mindful moment and pass the time when we are feeling anxious and bored. A state of flow can be achieved when we immerse ourselves in the creative process. This occurs when we allow ourselves an uninterrupted focus on a project or activity that we engage in for its own sake. Some call this getting lost in the process, where we feel more present in the moment as our creative endeavor gives us something to focus on and engage with. Finally, exploring through creativity can support self-mastery. As we explore different forms of creativity and try new or old things in our recovery, we learn what we like and what we are good at. Creative expression allows us to experience trial and error. We learn as much from what works as from what doesn't work, and we can take that forward and practice what works for ourselves. The more we practice, the better we get at something. We can bring our new creative skills into other areas, like problem solving and looking at things from a different point of view. Are there any ways creativity has helped in your healing? How can creativity add to your recovery? Take a moment now to consider, what are you recovering? Section 3, ways to engage in creativity in recovery. Being intentional about engaging in creativity can open us up to new ways of exploring and experiencing our daily life. A few ways to start practicing using your creativity could include journaling. This can be a start in exploring and naming your thoughts and feelings without the fear of an audience, since the journal is just for you. A journal can be a container to hold and record to reflect on. This can give you access to your progress and a way to get more in touch with your personal thoughts and feelings. You can expand on this process by making it an art journal and include images, sketches, collage, pressed flowers or leaves. Your words can be transformed into poetry or perhaps they remind you of a song to accompany what you are reflecting. Your journal could include inspirational thoughts and ideas or dreams you had to explore your subconscious mind. Taking a class can connect you with a creative practice you have wanted to try or get better at. Part of what you recover in recovery is the space to make room for things that have been set aside or not attempted. Beginners classes can help to work through perfectionism, as the other participants will be starting at the same level. What have you wanted to explore but never followed through with? Painting, drawing, writing, poetry, pottery, woodworking, dance, music lessons, photography, improv, acting, clothing design, sewing, just some ideas to explore. Cooking can also be a great way to get creative. It doesn't have to be an elaborate spread, but it can start with making meals for yourself as an act of self-care. You get to learn more about what you like, and you can try new foods or recipes. Try putting your own spin on a family or loved recipe. Explore on your own or invite others to your experiment, and enjoy what you can produce through your creativity. And remember, if it goes sideways, you can always order pizza. Sometimes getting re-engaged with a former enjoyed activity can be a start to bringing creativity back into our lives. Reflect on what you used to like to do, or what came natural to you when you were younger. Kids are naturally imaginative and playful. What did that look like for you? Were you into building forts, performing, dancing, dress up, making things, drawing, storytelling? Sometimes our family and childhood friends can remind us of what we were into as kids. It can also help to look at what the kids in your life today are doing to express their creativity. Fun is not exclusive to using substances. We used to know how to do this, and we still have access to imagination and play. There are also other things we can do to encourage more creativity and allow ourselves to benefit more from being intentionally creative. Exercise is one way to get into a creative flow. We know that engaging in exercise can help stabilize our mood, gets our blood circulating better, and releases neurochemicals like dopamine and serotonin. This can help you feel more grounded and motivated to engage in other pursuits. We can use this sense of inspiration to jump into a project, or maybe we use exercise as a break from a task we are struggling with to clear our heads and have a physical release of tension. Exercise can give us the momentum we need to try again, or get something started. Letting go of perfectionism will free you up to create for the sake of creating, as opposed to trying to produce any specific outcome or product. Self-expression through creativity is a unique and sacred exploration, and if we are open to the process, we can be surprised and intrigued by what we end up expressing. There is no right way to express ourselves, so giving yourself permission to explore can give you the freedom to trust the process and engage more authentically. Practicing mindfulness and meditation can complement the creative process and can also be a part of it. Creating a piece of art can bring us into a mindful state where we are simply focused on what we are creating and doing with our hands and materials. Creating can be an act of mindfulness on its own. It can keep us in the moment we are in. So practicing this can allow us to be more intentionally mindful, and it can give us a way to be in a mindful state without it always having to be done in a certain way. Lots of people struggle with clearing their mind or being still, myself included, so engaging in an activity or project might help you get there. We sometimes come up against fear when we are trying something new or when we have placed an expectation on an outcome. Naming the fear and trying it anyway, giving yourself permission to make a mistake, choosing to let this attempt be practice. These are all ways we can address this emotion instead of avoiding it. If any of these ideas have inspired you in some way, I will encourage you now to take a minute to write down your ideas and thoughts about what creative pursuits you would like to explore. Section 4, how art therapy can help. Art therapy is an insightful therapeutic treatment for people dealing with mental health, trauma, and addiction concerns, or for anyone engaging in a self-discovery journey. As you create an art therapy, you unearth parts of your subconscious mind that are not always accessible by just talking. Through the use of visual arts and the creative process, art therapy allows people to explore internal and unconscious aspects of the self. This allows for identification, understanding, and integration of parts of the person which can be difficult to understand and articulate through a primarily verbal process. Art therapy allows for a fuller and more holistic way to view difficult to process events, memories, beliefs, thoughts, and emotions. To quote Chandler in the ebook Colorful Recovery, Art Therapy for Substance Abuse and Addiction Treatment, art therapy, when used in conjunction with an addiction treatment program, can enhance the process of recovery for the individual by improving mindfulness, building a means of spiritual connection, and reducing shame and anxiety, therefore increasing the likelihood of long-standing sobriety. We can experience an increase in self-esteem and self-confidence as we find a new way to express ourselves. This also happens through the accomplishment of making something, like a piece of art, especially when we can set aside the expectation of perfectionism. We can experience a release of emotions in a healthy way through making art in art therapy. This can result in stress and tension relief and can help in the process of accepting and letting go. The art created in art therapy acts as an external expression of our memories, beliefs, thoughts, and emotions, and becomes a container or a place to hold or put down what someone may be struggling with. Sometimes the art is the expression in itself, and no other words or expression is needed. Sometimes the art gives the artist the words they may not have been able to express. It allows us to see things differently, from a different perspective. The art in art therapy is not meant to be fine art. It is used as an expression. No artistic experience or fine art skill is necessary. There are many paths to recovery, and everyone is on their own journey. For this reason, any program treating addiction and other concerns should include a range of therapeutic approaches. We don't always have the words to express our thoughts, feelings, and experiences, and sometimes it can be difficult to do that in a group or with a therapist. Art therapy and other creative therapies can help us to express ourselves differently and can give us a way to process and see ourselves differently. In turn, it can help us to access and find the words to say what couldn't be said before. Section 5, art therapy activity. Now I'm going to invite you into a state of flow. This is a quick activity that can help you get into a creative process and access your subconscious thoughts, then do something creative with them. It's called distilled poetry. Start by selecting an image you are drawn to. It could be from a book or a magazine, artwork on your wall, or a photo album. Pause the video here if you want to follow along while I talk you through the process, or you may just write down the instructions and do it in your own time. Next, get some paper and something to write with. Set a timer for 5 minutes and begin writing whatever comes to your mind when you look at the image you selected, stream of consciousness style. Whatever words are coming, just write them down. They don't have to make sense or be in sentence form. If the same word is repeating, let it repeat. They are just words. We don't need to put any judgment on them or on what's coming into your mind. Do this until the timer signals. Pause the video here while you complete this before the next step. Read through what you've written, and with your writing tool or a highlighter, underline or highlight the parts or the words that jump out at you. Pause the video here and complete this part. Finally, use the words you identified as inspiration to distill them into a poem. You can use the words themselves in the poem, or they can give you a theme for the poem. You can also refer back to the image for inspiration or let new thoughts and words emerge. Pause the video and complete. Now you've taken an image using your own subconscious mind to distill the essence into poetry. I'll invite you again to share your poem and the image you chose, or your experience of this process, or any other thoughts in the comments. Please reach out in the comments if you have any questions for me or want to know more about art therapy. Thank you for listening and participating. I wish you all the best in your recovery. Take care.